Los Angeles and Seoul, two of the world's major cities, both with populations of over 10 million. LA, often ranked one of the world's most diverse cities, is home to people from over 140 countries and speaking 224 different languages where there is no ethnic majority. On the other hand, Korea and Seoul are often considered to be some of the most ethnically homogeneous places in the world, with 96% ethnic Koreans and 99.9% Korean-speaking residents. With such a large disparity in diversity, what difference in experience do multicultural people within these two major cities face, and how do their perspectives on multiculturalism differ?
We, Mia Elliott and Ashley Liao, along with CI's Alliance for Multicultural Women, have conducted a number of interviews within the greater Los Angeles and Seoul Incheon areas in order to learn more about this question.
Multiculturalism is defined as coexistence of diverse cultures, where culture includes racial, religious, or cultural groups.
Along with investigating multiculturalism within these broad areas of LA and Seoul, we further focus in on multiculturalism within our own Chadwick communities of PV and CI.
It's a melting pot here in LA, so I think for myself, I've always found just a variety of people of my culture.
I think it's diverse, but it's still like really segregated.
There's like a whole street dedicated to my culture.
There's a lot of people from a lot of different places here.
Korea was a very closed country for a long time. It just opened in the late 90s. And so they don't have a lot of knowledge about other people's culture.
비교해봤을 때는 많이 다양한 편은 아닌 것 같아요.
문화가 그렇게 다양하다고 생각하지는 않아요. 제 생각에는. 그만 아직까지는 한국이라는 곳이 한국적인 그런 부분을 추구하는 게 더 많으니까.
퍼센테이지로 따지면은 아마 받아들이는 정도는 고작해야 한 50% 미만? 저는 그렇게 생각해요. 아직은 많이 개방이 되었다 하더라도 한 50% 미만인 것 같아요. 얘기를 해보면.
My name is Rico Sisoko. I'm the Director of Equity and Inclusion at Chadwick School. Affinity group spaces are spaces where folks with a common identifier can come together to reflect and offer support to each other and to dialogue about issues that are important to them.
My name is Elmer Castillo. I'm a junior at Chadwick School and I'm one of the 3 co-leaders of the Latinx affinity group at Chadwick.
I'm Jasmine Amaral and I identify as Latina and Hispanic.
Hi, my name is Evelyn Cortez. I am one of the leaders of Latinos Unidos here at Chadwick.
We have the opportunity to form things like Latino Culture Club and Latinos Unidos, which is our affinity group. So it gives us a good chance to have other students who identify in the same way come together and be able to talk about representation in media and on campus and different social issues we might be facing.
I am Christy. I identify as Korean American. Me and Austin are one of the leaders in the Asian American Affinity Group. I feel like Chadwick does a lot to say like, oh, like cultural clubs are for everyone, like anyone can come to anything sort of atmosphere. But because affinity groups are specifically for people of that group, it creates a sort of like a sense of belonging and a place where you won't be scared to, say anything.
My name is Harrison Leonards. I identify as an Ashkenazi Jew. And my role in the Jewish Affinity Group is mainly to serve as leader. Well, overall, it's really just a conversation in a regular Jewish Affinity Group meeting where we just kind of chat about our thoughts.
My name is Mia Monica. I am one of the co-leaders of BSU. Black Student Union is an affinity group and we just hope to provide a safe space for Black students at the school so that we're able to talk about certain things that our counters, our peers might not quite understand.
So looking at our curriculum, how are we providing a diverse curriculum? How are we showing multiple perspectives?
I remember last year in history, we had an entire unit focused on migration, and our case study was migration in Mexico specifically. And for me, who is half Mexican, it was really interesting to get a different perspective on those types of issues and to have it actually be talked about in our curriculum.
I do think that my culture is appreciated at Chadwick School, but in terms of the curriculum, I feel like my culture, and in specific Hispanic and Latinx culture, is underrepresented.
I overall feel like we're fairly well represented. There are some topics, especially in global studies too, which I feel like could be a bit controversial for Jewish people.
I consider Chadwick a multicultural community because I think there's a lot of opportunities for students of different cultures to come together, and I feel that Chadwick gives us the opportunity to celebrate our own individual cultures on a wide scale. A lot of my friends are from different cultures, and I think that that's something really special about Chadwick.
There are very many cultures represented at Chadwick, but I don't think that it is necessarily equally represented, as if you look around, it's mostly people of concentrated Caucasian ethnicity and not necessarily indicative of the population that's actually represented in Southern California.
Chadwick does a great job at accepting all cultures and all identities, but I don't feel like they represent all the cultures. There's certain Asian holidays that aren't necessarily in our winter break season, and so we don't get the full experience of our holidays because we don't have the time it takes to celebrate them.
It'd be nice if we do incorporate that into our curriculum.
I think Chadwick does better than a lot of other schools, especially the public schools around here, to try and integrate Black culture into what it is, but I think it still has quite a while to go. I really appreciate the fact that Chadwick does do really well to ensure that it brings people in from different places, and it creates these experiences for people so that they are able to be so much more culturally aware than kids from other schools.
Hi, my name is Maddie and I'm Australian.
My name is Tiana Kwon and I identify myself as half Russian and half Korean.
My name is John Yoon and I'm Korean. Korean, yeah.
My name is Daniel Cho and I'm also Korean.
My name is Brian Park and I'm also Korean.
My name is Amina and I'm a Tanzanian American.
My name is Erica and I'm Korean.
In some ways, it's multicultural because of the Western influence, but it's pretty Korean.
I feel like CI is a very multicultural community because it has representatives of over 70 countries in our school. We have a lot of international students and teachers.
It's all relative because I know that there are like a lot of other international schools that have like a lot more like foreigners. The Korean population is really high here.
For every 10 Koreans, I think there's maybe one foreigner. So it's not very international.
My culture just isn't reflected in CI culture at all.
I feel like Russian culture is not really well represented in Chadwick community.
Not really. I think American culture is, but it's kind of different to Australian culture.
Since most of the student body is made up of Koreans, even though it's an international school, I feel like Korean culture really assimilated into our school's culture.
Compared to Korean schools, like traditional Korean schools, it's like way up there in multiculturalism, but compared to other international schools, I would say not really.
There is a policy called the language policy, and it helps and encourages students to speak English to promote inclusion for those who do not speak Korean.
We have this language of inclusion policy that a lot of people are trying to enforce, but I don't think it's actually working. But I think it's pretty significant for our community because we need to include everyone, right?
Yeah.
When we're only with Korean students, we tend to speak Korean, but during classes or when there are other foreigners around us, we try to speak English. I think that we should strengthen the language policy more and then give incentive for students to follow the language policy more strictly.
Through our numerous interviews, we found that even though Los Angeles has a fairly diverse population, de facto segregation appears throughout the greater area, and there are many concentrated ethnic communities. On the other hand, Seoul and Incheon have proven to be more diverse than originally expected. Contrary to the obvious Korean majority, Seoul and Incheon, according to our interviews, have a fairly large number of foreigners, and multicultural people come from a wide range of countries, allowing for the creation of cultural communities such as Incheon Chinatown, Sorry Village, and Little Tokyo. From our interviews in LA and Seoul, we believe that Chadwick community's multiculturalism is reflective of its surrounding environment both physically and socially. Los Angeles attracts and is home to a more diverse group of people ethnically, culturally, and religiously, and the culture of the city itself welcomes diversity and multiculturalism. These populations are reflected in the Chadwick School population as well.
On the other hand, Chadwick International, despite its attempts to be multicultural, simply doesn't have the same ratio of multicultural students due to Seoul and Incheon's limited multicultural population. The fact that Seoul and Incheon centers heavily around Korean culture, traditions, and ideals, rather than being open to foreign influence, permeates throughout the international community Chadwick International tries to promote. While both communities strive for diversity, Chadwick International has a harder time attracting and maintaining cultural diversity on campus for the aforementioned reasons. The collaborative desire for a more diverse community is the most crucial aspect in reaching the goal of more cultural inclusion on both campuses. Educating yourself on cultural issues as well as communication about these issues are the first steps towards a stronger and more inclusive community.